is a presentation of BFA Sports.
Good evening, everybody. On this steamy Wednesday night here in Hammonton, this is the Jim Raso Show here on BFA Sports. I'm Chris Lozzi with the Hammonton football head coach, Jim Raso. This is like a makeshift night, so we don't have a crowd, which is probably a good thing. After
I don't know if anybody would show up anyway, so we don't deserve it.
We absolutely are going to go over what went right, what went wrong, and we will dissect the loss to Cherokee on Thursday, but then we'll talk about what's coming up this week and other things like that. Let us begin with, though, I think the most important part, and that's the heat. So we were talking off camera that you have a lot of restrictions as to what you can and cannot do, which is part of the reason why the show airs an hour later, and that's because the practice was later.
Yeah, so they actually follow the state mandates for the schools to follow a wet bulb test. Okay, it's a device which gauges the heat plus the humidity, and it gets at certain levels. So right after school it was in the black. You're not even supposed to be outside when it's in the black. So we knew going into this week, what the weather report was saying. So we made an adjustment to be able for the kids to come back at night to make sure we got practice in. So the kids wound up coming back at 5:30. We were actually not on the field till about 6:15 tonight.
Wow.
And was also the same way last night and will be that way tomorrow night as well.
When you say a wet bulb, do you actually mean like a light bulb that they put somewhere?
It's actually a device. It kind of looks like it has a little reading, and it almost looks like a microphone, and it's gauging. As coaches, there's also an app that kind of tracks it as well. It's not as accurate as actual device, but it gives the coaches at least an indication of what the reading is going to be, whether it's black, red, yellow, or green.
So according to the forecast on Friday, it's still going to be ridiculously hot.
So they actually moved our game back an hour. So originally we were scheduled to start at 6 o'clock, viewing the weather. The ADs got together and with the officials and decided to at least give us that one more hour where it's going to be a little bit safer environment for the kids.
And also there's a chance of thunderstorms as well that might affect, but we don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens.
So that's the elephant in the room, and that's why we're dying right now. That's why he's sitting way over there. All right, let's talk about Cherokee. You guys come out, kind of do things that you wanted to do. You got a good running attack. Of course, Kenny's involved. And all of a sudden, bang, it's 7-0. It's a good drive.
Yeah, I thought for the most part, it kind of a little bit back and forth. And then when we got that second possession, we were able to go down the field and punch some points in on the board. And, at that point, we were feeling pretty good. The things that we talked about, what were the keys to the game and everything that had to happen, was kind of back and forth in the second quarter, in which, the defense was giving up some plays, but as they got into the red zone, they would tighten up. And before you know it, going into halftime, it was 7-6. We were able to get off the field without giving up any touchdowns. But at the same time, offensively, we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. So missing some key assignments, missing some key throws, missing some key catches, at times. And we had a couple penalties for illegal formation, which would have given us a big first down when we needed it. So looking back, offensively, we didn't do a great job in the second quarter. And, the defense kind of tightened up there. And going into halftime, now it was at the point where we needed to make some adjustments.
So we'll hold on that. So let's go back to the first half. When I saw the standout players, definitely Joey Gillen had a monster game again, especially in the first half. I felt that you were able to move the ball. What did you think of Drew?
There was some key throws. He was a little high, a little inaccurate, and that wasn't.
Do anything different?
Yeah, we were just kind of going over things that we saw from the coaches in terms of some missed assignments. I'm speaking offensively right now. Mm-hmm. And we had guys open. It wasn't like it was we had our opportunities. So we thought we needed to capitalize on those opportunities. And defensively, it was going to be a big series coming out, and we didn't do a very good job. One particular play, I think it was the first play.
First one.
That was a play that we practiced. I can't even tell you how many times. And we had 2 missed assignments in the linebacker and our defensive end. And next thing you know, the backside, the pursuit wasn't there. We got caught in a stunt, and, the quarterback was off to the races. What was discouraging about it was how we responded after that. Next thing you know, boom, we're making mistakes in terms of fielding kickoffs.
Right.
Which, turning the ball over on offense.
So
all the little things that we always preach, we did not do.
The first kickoff after the touchdown, they're ahead now 13-7, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And was that the kickoff that was actually covered or recovered right on the sideline and questioned whether or not that player was in or out of bounds? Was that the first one?
I believe so. There was a couple different things that were happening, but I
Yeah.
believe so. If we're standing
one
right
hand,
there,
Andrew, I know that, yeah.
That one happened right before the half. The one that
Oh,
well,
Andrew, yeah.
And I think going back to like halftime, you're going into halftime on a negative note, and that's not something that you want to do. It's not something you want to do.
But you kept, like you said.
We had the lead, and it was how we were going to respond. And as a group, as a veteran group, it was disappointing to see how we did respond. And
Well, you catch them out, honestly, though. I mean, you kept them out of the end zone for the first half. You knew going in they had a very good kicker. So, anytime 3 is better than 7, right?
correct.
Right. However, I felt that you got some good pressure on that kid. What's his name? Ryan Mudd. What's the quarterback for them? Yeah, I forget his name.
Yeah.
You see what happens
I-
when you get on time, right?
I'll be honest with you. I always look at numbers.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah,
went
12.
in terms number. I could
Yeah.
tell you their numbers.
Right.
12.
Sorry, Ryan. We'll figure out who it is. But anyway, I'm going to figure it out maybe on commercial. But I mean, he's a senior, so I mean, he's well experienced. So now he knows, and Coach Glatz is a really good coach.
Listen, that's
Yeah.
an outstanding program right there.
Right.
Who's well
Bender,
coached.
Ryan Bender. Thank you. Okay.
Who's well coached, and there's a kid that played all last year for him, and we knew going in. We sat here and said he was the second leading carrier.
Yeah.
First play, boom.
So obviously, you get punched in the mouth now. You didn't expect to be down. You didn't get the ball back until it was almost out of hand. At that point, what was your philosophy? Were you like, let's see if we can just stem this tide, or go for the big hitter and see if we can come back in this game?
We were trying to get our feet back under us because, yeah, you're right. They came out and
Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for two, price for one. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
I be like,
Welcome back. We are here live in Hammonton on BFA Sports, the Jim Raso Coaches Show, Hammonton football at its finest. And this is a year that everybody's excited about with TV contract and, playoff appearance, going far in the playoffs last year. So you're 1-1. We can throw Cherokee
At Lacey.
Right.
And that was the first thing when he came down, when we got back to school, and said, just flush it down the toilet.
All right. So now that that's gone, now you come into a week of practice for Highland. You talked about in the first segment about missed assignments, about inaccurate throws from the quarterback. What have you done, or as a staff, to hopefully correct those?
Just making sure that we're paying attention to every little detail. I thought, and I do think at this point, we've been having a very good week of practice, tonight especially.
Why do you say that?
Just the way the kids are responding, okay? In terms of concentration levels. One of my worst fears was, and I think we had mentioned this, is having that game, our first game like that, or our second game on the first day of school. And historically, that's always been a very bad day of practice. And believe me, not using it as an excuse,
Not
but
at all.
Kids are first day being torn in all these different directions. I was glad to see this week that the focus is there. They're not worrying about having to go to school the next day. They've already experienced all that. The holiday weekend's out of the way. We came in, practiced, got everything we needed to get done, and tonight was crisp and very sharp.
Coming off of the heels of a 40-point defeat with the heat, I mean, you got to be really careful, but you also got to drive that point home. Did you run these kids pretty hard this week?
We did. You don't want to overdo it, though, at the same time, because, like you said, it's with the temperatures being what they are and what they're going to lose in terms of sweating. So, there's a fine line. And, as the week goes on, we kind of back off in terms of, conditioning. It's more about concentrating on plays versus conditioning at that point.
So your opponent is Highland. Regular opponent, get them every year pretty much. What can you tell us about the Tartans?
Divisional game, okay. Have a lot of respect for their coach and their program. Our games, historically have always been good games. Last year we were fortunate enough to jump on them early. This year, it's two different teams. We're a different team, they're a different team. And some things that they're doing well this year in terms of different formations than they have shown in years past. Historically, they've been a pro-I team, spreading around a little bit more. They have a pretty good quarterback, the coach's son, so he has a head for a game.
Yeah.
And, defensively, they try to throw multiple fronts at you and, like to bring some pressure. So, the offensive line, it was important this week that we were making our calls. We tried to show them the multiple fronts as much as we best possibly can. You're never going to simulate game speed, with your scout team. But I do like the way that they are communicating and talking up front. And, from the backs and the receivers and the quarterback, I thought, all positive reports from individual coaches and then what we have seen during the team sessions.
Very unlikely that something like that is going to happen again, where a breakdown on all three phases of the football team. So when you had the meeting, when you talked to the coordinators, you talked to the coaching staff, did you get a sense like that we're past this now, where we've corrected those things and we're ready to go?
Yeah, but you just want to make sure that you're right. You don't ever want that to happen again. So, tighten up on the details, whether it's footwork, whether it's fakes, whether it's proper stance, where you're supposed to be. As a staff, we got together and said, it's not the kids' fault. It's our responsibility to make sure they are better, and we have to do a better job. And that all starts up top with me, and then trickles down throughout the staff.
Back to the Tartans offense, run heavy, pass heavy?
They're actually mixed this year. Bounce. They're actually bounce. It's situational. It seems, from what we saw in the first couple games. Certain downs that they are passing, certain downs they are running. But doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be that way. I know Coach does a great job, and whatever the feel for the game is, that's what he's going to wind up calling.
When you looked at the schedule in the beginning of the season, and let's assume that Ocean City is a road game, right? You're not home until week 4.
No. It was beneficial last year, first 3 games home. This year, first 3 games are on the road. And, that's the other thing. How are you going to conduct and handle yourself on the road? First game, we were away, neutral field. This was our first game going into somebody's home territory, where they're feeling comfortable. Last week, the other school was also on the road as well.
Right.
So it was us being on the road, another team being home and comfortable. Well, you're doing the same thing this week as well. So it's how are we going to be able to respond going into somebody? It's their first home game, Highland's first home game.
Yeah.
So they're going to get a crowd out there. They're going to be excited playing their first.
Newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for 2, price for 1. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
Welcome back. As you can see, we are joined by a special guest. By the way, this is the Jim Raso Show. We are live every Wednesday right here at the Donato Family Fun Center. And this is the coach, and this is Rob Comunale. And he is the president of the Blue and White Gridiron Club, which is basically the driver for all the fundraising for this football program. So I want to ask you right off the bat, you're asked about television, and what's your first thought?
I think it's great. Get Hammonton football some exposure and bringing it into everybody's living room.
So the task then was for you to make this happen with the help of others, but I mean, ultimately it fell on you guys and your club. What did you do to make this work?
It was a group effort. A lot of people put a lot of effort in, sponsors. Coach Rishatola had a big part in it.
We're not allowed to say his name.
From Winslow,
Okay.
Williamstown, I'm sorry.
So we're not allowed to say his name.
Can't
It's all
say
right.
his name, I'm
No,
sorry.
that's okay.
He's going to yell at me for that.
So he's going to yell at me too.
And we just wanted to bring some exposure to Hammonton football
Right.
and get it out there.
Nice. Coach, how valuable is this man to the program?
Very valuable.
Good answer.
We're lifetime. I've known him since we were probably about 6 years old. Teammates, friends. We would even consider calling each other brothers. That's how close we've been over the years. And, our former president, Rodney Kramer, who, did an outstanding job, was there when the club was created, spent numerous amount of years doing an excellent job representing. When he decided that it was, time for him to step down, retired, wanted to kind of enjoy life a little bit, and he earned every right of it, every bit of it.
Yeah.
Rob was the first person we called. Somebody that meant a lot to the program. Was one of the greatest wide receivers in the history of our program. Like I said, if you want somebody that you're going to be able to trust, there's somebody right there. And, he stepped up to the plate. He was also a former coach of the program as well. So he knows the program's very important to him as well. And he's carrying on that tradition that Rodney had set, and he's doing an outstanding job for our program.
How's that for a ringing endorsement?
I appreciate it.
Take us through some of the fundraising events and other things that you guys ran in anticipation of this season. Just how much is involved,
Well, we have one big fundraiser, which is our golf tournament.
right?
And it's greatly supported by all the local businesses in Hammonton, and we wouldn't be able to do what we do without their support. We have that. We have the shed that sells shirts and hats and everything at the game. We do the 50-50 at the game.
Right.
But the big thing is our golf tournament, and that's where
Okay.
we make most of our
And
money.
then we also came up with, and I know we're not supposed to mention his name, but certain somebody we were able to now have the banner sponsors on our field, which was also very helpful as well. And those who contributed, the businesses that did contribute, and families is greatly appreciated.
Off camera, you told a story about the superintendent. Tell everybody what you said about her.
You know, we actually had her as a teacher. She's, you know, been in the school system for a long time. The one thing I can tell you is she looks exactly the same. Does not age
Wow.
one bit. You know, very thankful for what she does for the program and the support. And that's what all the administration, the school board, everybody, you know, in the town, our youth organization, very supportive, and we're very thankful for
So
that.
she deserves a shout out. What's her name?
Absolutely. Mrs. Kiyako, she definitely deserves a shout out.
And what did she say to you in regards to televised football games?
She was very excited that she was able to relax on her couch and be able to still watch our games. You know, she doesn't live in town. So it's another way for her to be able to watch the games, whether we're home or away.
So taking that one step further, what kind of feedback are you getting from just about everybody? I mean, from just the casual viewer, the parents, as well as the people that are inside the circle of the gridiron.
Everybody's excited to be able to go on their computer or the radio and listen and watch Hammonton football now. Everybody's really, really excited.
You see this being a long-term relationship?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think it's
Can I
also
negotiate now?
I think it's also important, like,
Yeah.
you know, just so it's not going to push away people coming from the games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
It's an opportunity for those who can't make the games. You know, we'll still have our support crowd that usually comes. There ain't no doubt about that. Can't wait till we have that home opener. But now it's a way for, you know, people who can't make it to the games are very thankful who support us. You know, even those who aren't even living in town anymore. I've gotten numerous amount of phone calls from people out of town. This is a great way for them to be able to still watch the games.
Makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It's great for the school, the community, and the program.
I don't know if you can top that, but try. People reaching out to you as well, saying the same
They
thing?
are. Former students, players
Yeah.
that are away at college playing football are able to go back and watch the games now, and they're really excited to be able to do that.
Is there anybody that you want to single out that's a former player that's now playing in college?
Jim, you're gonna have to help me with some names.
Go ahead.
I'm good with faces.
We got a few guys up at Rowan. Johnny Shibilia, who Coach Lancetta's brother from St. Augustine, is the offense coordinator there at Rowan. So he was our former coach. So he's always reporting in about our guys up there. Ryan Bartz is still up there. You know, so we have some guys at Rowan. Michael D'Agostino is playing. Yeah, we have some guys. Kai Presley's up at Maine, who just graduated last year.
Yeah.
You
Did they
know,
reach out to you during the season?
with numerous amount of texts, messages,
Yeah.
which is good. You know, and we always wish them well. You know, in return.
Oh, thank you. Rob, thanks for coming on. We appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me.
And the work you guys are doing is amazing, and we're very grateful for what you've been able to do. And we hope that the product this Friday is a little better, but overall, thanks again. Really thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so, Coach, you ready to go now for Friday night, right?
Ready to go,
We're at
ready to go.
Highland, right? So
Yep.
that game is at Highland, and it's at 7 o'clock.
7.
They moved it back because of the heat. So join Doug Stasic and Vin Avenue for the call the entire football game right here live on BFA Sports. On a 90-degree night here in Hammonton, it was great to have the crew here putting it together. So, you know, Jared Garcia, you don't see him. Nick Penza, you don't see him. Shout out to you guys for getting it all together. And I hope you get something very cold to drink. For everybody with BFA Sports, I'm Chris Lozzi. Thanks for joining us on the Jim Raso Show. We'll see you next Wednesday right here at the Donato Family Fun Center.